drink from my water bottle, like my mic will pick up. Whoop, 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 whoop. I wonder if you'll pick it up in here.
Spank that monkey.
Now I know what goes on in my room when I'm confused.
Yeah, I bet.
Are we ready to start?
I believe so. We've been recording for the last 5 minutes. So 7
Okay.
minutes.
Hello, and welcome to Happy Hour.
Yeah, you almost had strange conversations.
I almost did.
Brent 1.1 right here.
I am imposter Brent, and that's about as much as I think I can host for the show because I'm a guest here. Who wants to? Mark, you want to
I
take it
am
away?
John, handsome John.
I'm Mark, the dispatcher.
I am Michael Tumbleweed Kepley.
So today we have a kind of a New Year's Day special.
Yeah.
With
Happy New Year, by the way. It is, literally January 1st,
Yeah.
actually.
1/1,
we're
baby.
recording this, so.
the cool thing about today is that Brent's not here and we actually get to talk a little bit, which is kind of different.
It'll be great.
No, I'm just messing.
I try not to talk at all, so
Please try to talk.
Yeah, you're gonna have to talk a little bit more today. Today we're drinking Slane whiskey. It's actually introduced by our friend Fitz. It is wonderful. It's smooth, and yeah, it has a little bit of character to it. Definitely recommend it. It was a little risk. I usually am a Jameson guy. Go out and get my Black Barrel for my sipping whiskey. But
That's my go-to,
Yeah.
Jameson. But I mean, I like that 1792 I've got literally sitting right over there. Another one of my favorites. Like, I haven't tried this before. I feel like I've seen the bottle on shelves, but I haven't actually pulled it out. And
it's
tried
fairly
it.
new. $27. $2 less than Jameson.
That's not bad.
And it was $7 less than Black Barrel, which is my usual sipping whiskey. And honestly, it's got a little bit more bite than Black Barrel does, but I would still prefer Black Barrel, I think. But today we're going to start off with you, Marky Mark, and we're talking about Tony Hawk.
What is wrong with you? You're all kinds of out of whack.
What do you mean?
I believe at this point is when we say that we're
There's
gathering
a lot
to
of
talk.
stuff that happens in this world.
Oh, no. Well, that's
On a
because I don't
regular
do
basis.
this. Brent's not here. He talks so much, I just sit there and stare at the wall. And,
There's a lot of things that happen in this world. Particularly, there's been a lot of things that have happened over this particular Christmas break. Wow.
while
Can't
eating
really
Skittles.
speak. Yeah, exactly. But this
Is
the
the
important.
I gotta
He's
work on
new.
that.
Give him time. All right, so
I would like to start off if you don't mind. So the first thing I want to talk about is it's just general news for Strange Gaming.
Okay.
We officially, as of I don't know, like 20 minutes ago, if even that, Strange Gaming has picked up their first content creator. He's a streamer. His name is Xphobia.
Oh, cool.
He plays a lot of first-person shooter games. In particular, I know him the most for playing Realm Royale and Fortnite. He's competed in a lot of Realm Royale tournaments, and he's just been a part of Strange more so in the background for a long time. He initially came into like our group, really supporting Crystal, who she does a lot of hosting for us right now.
Yeah.
And him and
At
Crystal
I Am
and
Queen
Dylan
Crystal.
have all become very close. So he just left his former org, and he's now going to be a part of Strange for I assume all of 2019, and just be putting out all that content on. So you can find his Mixer and Twitch things somewhere around here.
In the comments up here.
no, don't be Brent.
The comments up here, they're up there. Okay.
Both of you now. No, you can find him in the description below, and actually, I'll show his information here on screen too.
Cool. So what are we starting with today, John?
Oh, that's all you want to say? Okay.
oh,
So
I-
you're done?
I think. Is there anything else I should say?
I don't know. Just want to make sure I didn't
Welcome, Xphobia. We love you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to have you, man. Yeah. Today we're going to start with Marky Mark and the Tony Hawk Club. Anybody remember playing those games, by the way?
All the time.
Oh, I
Tony
love
Tony
those
Hawk.
games.
Pro Skater was the best.
Yes.
2 was my favorite for sure.
Yep.
But, oh my God.
I
yes.
had both the first one and the second one, but since then, Activision is no longer in the picture. Tony Hawk has actually taken, now I don't remember the
Maple?
company name. Maple, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's actually going to a company and has a new mobile game coming out. Tony Hawk's, my brain's blanking right now. Tony Hawk's. Anyway, it's a mobile game.
It's not going to be Pro Skater anymore.
No,
though,
it's
right?
not. No, because Pro Skater was the name that Activision had, and that's actually
It
been
is.
copyrighted that way. But it's Tony Hawk's Skate Jam. That's what it is.
Well, I'm glad that the Tony Hawk name is away from Activision.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that means that they could actually do something. Because they had good games, don't get me wrong, but after 5's really crappy.
2015 was 5, and that was the biggest flop because they said it was the most rushed game that they had.
Was
over
that the one that
series.
came with the skateboard? Because I believe that was a Tony Hawk game, and that one was garbage.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the,
sounds about right.
Tony
Yeah.
Hawk's Pro Skater 5? Yeah,
the
that's what it was.
controls on like the skateboard was just super finicky, and it's kind of hard to ollie on something that sits flat on the ground.
Yep.
So
But so one of like he actually kind of gave a little bit of a piece with this. Apparently he actually went around to a couple different companies after the contract ended and started looking at new tech. Like he even actually looked into VR to try to see if he could do like a first person skater kind of thing. But the problem is people got sick.
Oh wow,
Yeah, no, it apparently didn't go well. So
I can see why. I mean, he's doing what 900s and stuff.
yeah,
I'm imagining hitting like that ramp. Like I already get like freaked out with heights, so if I'm like dropping into a ramp, I'm not that coordinated. So like I'll just
that-
fall over in my living room.
that and like any kind of thing that's been any kind of VR game that includes falling, or like what is it, the end of one of the stories on Super Hot.
Oh yeah, where you're sitting there and all
you're
of a
at the
sudden,
ledge and you just
oh.
drop. Oh no! I could just feel myself. Like I just panicked.
I
Like,
actually almost peed myself a little bit because I was like, "Why does it want me to?" Oh my god, I'm falling! And I was like, "Oh man, I gotta pee." I went and got pee. That was bad.
Yeah, man, it messes you all kinds up. I remember
Yeah.
I had that on Batman for the PlayStation VR, and like you're like going into the Batcave on this small circular platform. Forget it. And
it's gone forever.
and I just remember like almost like my equilibrium was all kinds of shifted off, and I was like, dude, this is like really hard for me. I don't know. I'm not
Yeah.
coordinated.
I mean, when VR first came out, it was hard to get adjusted.
Oh, yeah,
but
absolutely.
with Tony Hawk, like I remember, like it was like the beginning stages of me wanting to be a completionist. I wanted to get all of the videotapes, all of the letters, do all of the little check marks. I was like, this is my game, man.
See, I did that with the first one. Like, I mean, my sister and I played the crap out of like Pro Skater, the first one. But we started finding the videotapes, so we started trying to figure out how to get to all the weird places anyway to get them, like breaking through windows and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Skating just on the helicopter and to get the helicopter to leave, like, and then all of a sudden there's a whole nother outside realm, and you're like, whoa. It was a good time. That was good memories.
Yep. But you can have that same experience on the go.
On the go. Yeah, that's right. It's going mobile. And speaking of mobile, we had some FCC outages that happened recently, didn't we?
Good transition. Bravo,
Woo.
sir. So
Gotta have faith.
FCC's Ajit Pai has come out and said that they're going to launch an investigation into CenturyLink and an outage that they had. Supposedly, a particular type of network card that CenturyLink had installed on some of their devices were malfunctioning, causing phone call and data outages across to the majority of New Mexico and Arizona. But the problem is it goes one step farther than that, because it's not just your data, it's your phone calls too. So people were having problems calling 911.
Yeah, that's a
That's a
kind
big
of an
deal.
issue.
That's a big deal. So
Especially when you're out in the middle of the desert like that
yeah,
place
but
is.
the big thing is that it lasted more than 24 hours. They thought they had resolved the issue on last Wednesday, and then it reappeared again on apparently Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening. Verizon has already said that this is unacceptable. We can't have this kind of thing. CenturyLink's like, I don't know what you want us to do. Like, we had malfunctioning hardware.
So
but-
CenturyLink is the hardware that Verizon is working with for emergency services or regular people?
No, so CenturyLink is actually their ground communication company anyway. So Verizon only provides the cell towers and the cellular service itself. They contract out to CenturyLink to actually offer the telephone and data or internet services that you have on the ground to communicate between the towers and to Verizon central servers and across the phone system, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So because CenturyLink is better at the phone side of things, Verizon's just good at the wireless side of things.
And now you know.
Yeah. So FCC is going to do an investigation into that, see what happened. I'd be interested to see if they decide to charge CenturyLink with anything. But
wow.
like they said they're doing an investigation. I'm not sure what the reason would be other than to try to see if there was any wrongdoing. But
I was about to say, you think it was like a hostile thing? Like
I
someone did something they
don't-
weren't supposed
I
to?
think it was negligence, if anything. If anything, just this being sort of the corporate world that it is,
Yeah.
negligence could come to play if they decided to cheap out on some cheaper network cards or whatever it was that was causing the communication failure.
Or they thought they were doing an update, didn't think they needed to take down the network. And then,
Didn't do their due diligence maybe to look at all hardware software updates to see if something was faulty, malfunctioning, whatever it was with it. So
So you may not know this, but is this like an isolated thing for that area, or should like other people be
was.
concerned?
no, it was an isolated incident for that particular area. If it had been affected anywhere else, they never said anything. They never said anything about it. What's the website? outage.report, I think is actually the name of the website.
Okay.
That actually like monitors for that kind of stuff.
Has CenturyLink responded at all about what happened?
CenturyLink said, yeah, it was a malfunctioning card. We've replaced it. The issue's
Okay,
been
so they
resolved.
were
But
the
the problem is they said twice that the issue got resolved. Wednesday night, whenever it happened, and then Thursday night again after they actually swapped out the hardware.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Man, that's going to take a whole lot of money to fix. You know who's not going to have a whole lot of money?
Who's that?
Apple after Netflix takes away all their money.
Damn, he's on a roll. Look at this guy.
This guy's great.
No kidding. All right, so Netflix currently offers the ability to subscribe using the Apple mobile app. he's getting his rocks off this whiskey right now.
This is freaking good, man.
Yeah, but so Netflix offers the ability to subscribe on an Apple app, and per Apple's terms and conditions, if you're going to offer any kind of monetary subscription, the ability to sign up for it in particular, using the mobile application, Apple has to get a cut of that profit. Oh yeah, and it's a hefty chunk. It's apparently like somewhere in the neighborhood of $250 million a year.
Wow.
Isn't it like 15% of any like transactions that go through the application?
It starts at 30 for the
Ooh,
first year,
man.
and then resubs, like a continuation of the subscription, is 15%.
So if that's an Apple requirement, how do you get around that?
Don't allow people to subscribe through the mobile application. Force them to go to the website.
Yeah, you force them to go, like just transfer over to the Safari and then log in and do your stuff there, and then you have access to the application.
Yep.
So just by rerouting to the Safari app network, you just don't have to pay that fee.
See, my
I'm
thing
curious
is
to
like, what is Apple going to do about this? Because that's a large chunk of money.
They haven't said anything yet, so I'm curious because this is going to be a large chunk of their profit. Like,
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
this would be very reminiscent of when Epic did this to Google
With
and
Fortnite.
Yep.
with Fortnite. So I mean, and Google was kind of just like nothing we can do.
well, Google puts it that way because Google's phones are designed to allow you to install third-party application. Apple is not. Apple's entirely an enclosed system. So if they want to develop and publish an app to the App Store, you have to do it through their policies and their terms. So, better yet, you can't even do a third-party app that you can sideload unless you're jailbroken.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, though, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
If I'm not mistaken, I think I read from checking your article that Netflix is like the #1 grossing app on Apple. So
Oh, yeah.
like, are they really going to be like, no, you're not allowed to be here anymore? You know?
Dude, let me tell you, if they get rid of Netflix and like disable that from working on their phones, you're going to see people throw away Apple phones so fast
You're going to see
and
people
go to Android.
picking up Android phones to try to watch watch Netflix on whatever devices they've got.
See, I would actually disagree. I feel like for a long time, I mean, there was a huge stint in Apple phones coming out. I haven't been with an Apple phone since the iPhone 4, and then Apple just like wasn't really changing the game, and it was always like, no one's gonna buy an Apple phone. But I mean, Apple has a very dedicated fan base. So I think if like,
Oh, yeah.
I think with Netflix being just anywhere all the time anyway, like people have tablets, they have laptops. You know, most people don't watch Netflix unless they're at home. There are so many options around. I think Apple just kind of lets this blow through the wind and everything's fine.
I don't know. If I had to poop out $250 million, I think I'd be a little upset about it.
I'd be
And
surprised.
the bleeding's not going to stop there either. I mean, everyone is going to do what they have to keep the money in their own pocket.
I think that's the biggest issue. Is I think
gonna set a
Netflix has
precedence.
shown, hey,
Yeah.
this is how you do this.
Dude, Epic made the precedence, and Netflix was like, you're right. What are we doing?
Yeah.
We're talking about needing to do this to make more money. We could just keep what we have.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so sad. And you know what? Netflix does everything right, in my opinion, just about, except for that one guy that said that we were spoiled. He was wrong. But they had just made a impeccable viewing experience, in my opinion. And it is called what again, Kibley?
It's called Bandersnatch.
Bandersnatch.
So just to preface this topic, if you don't care about spoilers, unless your name is Mark because you're on the podcast and you can't get away from
And
it.
the spoiler mark goes, yeah.
Boom. So Bandersnatch is it's the first movie, I believe, of its kind. If there is another one, I don't know about it, where it's an interactive, choose your own adventure type movie. So as the movie plays out, you make decisions, some of them very significant, some of them very insignificant. Like the first choice you make is which cereal you eat in the morning.
Well, yeah.
Go on.
So, like, for example, if Mark steps up his editing, the decision was pour drink or not pour drink, and you would click that, and it would influence the outcome of that scene. For me, I think the experience
Step up my
wonderful. I personally did not like the movie at all. I thought the movie was super lackluster, but I think the whole experience was phenomenal.
And how have we not heard any of this literally up to this point?
He wanted in my face.
Seriously, no kidding. He's been to be clear, he's been hyping this up for the last 2 days that we've been talking about it. Like, this is really cool, that kind of thing.
It is very cool.
Yeah,
I think the
absolutely.
experience is great.
I see where you're coming from, but coming from my background, like, I totally love the conspiracy theory stuff. So I'm like, got a whole like Jolly Roger.
No,
for it.
I think there are very good highlight moments in it. I think as a film, though, I think of like if I'm Netflix and I'm going to introduce this thing, I actually introduce this feature. Now, granted, with the theme of Bandersnatch it fits, but I introduced this with Bird Box, and I think Bird Box would have been a far more entertaining movie overall to put this because with Bird Box it's kind of like a horror film, but not really. It's more of a suspenseful film. But, you would make the decision. Does this guy go outside? Does he not? Do you save this person? Do you not? And you really build that outcome. Okay. And where the biggest gripe that I had with Bandersnatch was, this is great. You have shown that, this could be really cool. I hope you incorporate this in a lot of movies. But you very much also showed, because I spent far too much time on this movie. I spent, I think I spent 3 hours on it just doing different endings and stuff. I don't like that there is no ending where you cannot save everyone. And I do not like that they force you to get to certain outcomes. So there's most decisions that you make in the grand scheme always get you to the same point. And I think, granted, it's your first take, so I can't be too cynical of it. But, we've seen video games do this for a long time, which is why I wanted to talk about this. Video games do this and they're big hits. Detroit Become Human, arguably one of the best games of 2018. Heavy Rain back in the day.
Ooh, good game.
So many great decisions. All the Telltale games, right? And then you think about how this could be applied to other things that you've watched on Netflix, and you're like, well, this is cool. There are great moments, but as a whole, this movie is not that good.
I think the premise for it, man, I had program and control, and I'm just like, we're all doomed. Pac-Man had it all. Oh my God. It was actually, what was that game? The conspiracy theory game. I can't think of it right now. Anyway, I found it very interesting because it brought back the 80s themed, from the movie It Follows. It brought back that kind of 70s, 80s touch, especially because it's in a different country to begin with. So I don't really haven't experienced that country in that timeline, but I still felt it.
Okay.
And even down to the ashtray, I was like, yeah. That looks like Grandpa's ashtray. I felt at home with that, in a weird way, the way that the dad was, and watching him go through his experiences. I was like, man, this is crazy. He's actually having some issues with what was going on, and in the end, it was him trying to cope with everything going on. He's gone through so many different scenarios that it's this is the best outcome, and it's just.
Yeah, and in typical Black Mirror fashion, they're highlighting world issues or whatever, and I really like that the character is aware, and they make you know that he's aware, verbally, that he's not in control of his own actions, stuff like that. And I really like too how they don't make you like a video game restart everything. You hit this point, and then you have to quickly recaps it, and at times you even get to pick which 2 decisions you made that you want to go back to.
Yeah.
I do thematically, I like it. I'm a gamer. Grew up with some of those 2D games that they talk about. I played retarded amounts of Pac-Man. I don't actually. You should edit that out. I don't think we can say retarded anymore.
No, we can.
Okay. But the movie as a whole, I recommend everyone to watch it. I personally do not like the movie as a whole because, I don't know, I watch a lot of movies. I'm very critical at times of movies, but also there are movies that I really enjoy that other people hate. It's all opinion based. I recommend the experience though to absolutely everyone.
Absolutely,
and they really thought of everything. Because again, I spent too much time with this movie. I had it up on my TV. I was checking it on my mobile phone, and instead of buttons, you just tap on the screen, your computer, you click the decision. So they really laid out the framework to be able to put this on any platform.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait to see what they do in the next
the
movie.
controller vibrates too right beforehand. I'm like, oh, this is just so cool.
Cannot wait to see what they do.
I'm excited too because it brings a little bit more of the mental illness thing to a forefront where people seem to be really scared to touch it.
Yeah.
And I commend people who are trying with that bravery. And much like any other type of movie or game that you do decision making skills, Walking Dead's got something coming up, and that is also a decision making game.
That is true. The Walking Dead, the Telltale series, they went out of business, all that shenanigans not too long ago. You guys all talked about that. It has been announced that they will be putting out their final Walking Dead episodes with Epic Games on their Epic Store.
Wow.
So
Okay.
they announced that partnership. And so if you already had bought the season pass with all the chapters and all that on Steam or what have you, you can still get it on that. And if you play on consoles, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, you can still get it on that. You're unaffected. But if you have not bought it yet, you want to go through it all, you will have to purchase it from the Epic Games Store now. So that's their big partnership, I guess, to get more money. And then I want to pull it up here while I'm rambling. They have a new studio, I believe is what it is. They're devoting to it. It is
Still not bitten.
Still not bitten. You're right. Yep. This guy's on it. So I think it's really cool. Personally, I'm a huge fan that all these Telltale employees are really finding homes elsewhere. And I like that studios have went above and beyond to make sure they can finish their products.
Oh, yeah.
So, and the Walking Dead Telltale series, something I'm a huge fan of. I want to see where it ends. And that is January 16th or 19th that will be out.
Okay,
Also.
nice. Well, I still think it's kind of messed up that you can still do it if you bought the game already. You'll be able to download it wherever you were from. But if you haven't yet, you have to go through the Epic Store. I'm like, don't get me wrong.
It's a little cheeky,
It's just a little side punch. But I feel like for a game that needs to recover cost, you're limiting yourself for the wrong reasons right now. Like, this isn't going to be the game that people are going to rush out just to go to the Epic Store to get. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I could see something like that helping with the draw to get people comfortable with it.
You're still going to get numbers of people who go there to get it. You're just not going to get massive numbers.
I could see it both ways, because if they come out and just really knock this ending out of the park and someone hasn't bought this final season, everyone, I say everyone like very loosely, but most gamers already have the Epic Store anyway because everyone plays Fortnite. So it's not really like that big of an inconvenience. You perhaps already have it open anyway. And you're just like, cool, I want to really play through this. My favorite streamers played, got this outcome. I want to get my outcome. Boom, buy it right there.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, as people who are avid PC gamers, I remember apprehension of, wanting to get off of Steam and having to go to multiple marketplaces and that being a pain.
Yep.
Is that a worry for you then? If this is going to become big enough for Epic to, even take other stuff out and say, oh, you can only get this. Like, can you imagine like a massive game like Battlefield, for instance, that comes to PC? It's only available through EA Store.
It is.
That's how it is, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not available through Steam?
No.
Oh, wow.
No, so that's the problem right now. So Steam has the biggest library of games on PC right now for the majority of development companies as it stands, just because their profit margins are really low. But for companies that are big enough like EA and Blizzard or Activision, companies like that who have the resources to build their own, have built their own.
Okay.
So Ubisoft, Activision, and EA have their own as it stands. Who else? Do you know anybody else? I mean, League has its own.
Yeah, I mean, there are oodles and oodles of them out there.
I've got four game clients or four host clients or store clients installed on my desktop right now just to be able to play a breadth of games that I have.
Really, the only one that's like halfway baked into Steam is Ubisoft with Uplay.
But it's still...
And like you have to launch it from Steam, but then you have to sign into your Uplay account.
Yeah.
So it's like it's baked in there, but you still have to have that.
So
Yeah.
it launches from Steam to launch Uplay to launch the game.
I see. For me, it's weird, right? Because it's kind of a double-edged sword for me. On one hand, I want to be really lazy and I want to just have everything in one place.
Yep.
That's kind of my mentality.
Which you can do anyway,
I want
right?
the Netflix thing.
If you like store it on your desktop, you can create your own little shortcut in the Steam list and
Yeah.
launch from there. So you could still put it all in Steam if you wanted, but for all your updates and stuff, you have to launch that. But then on the other side, like I think competition is good, and I think that Steam has been like on top of the world for so long that I think it's really cool that other people are trying to step up and make way with it. For the longest time, I thought that Microsoft would really make that big push a lot more because they were, in their original inception of the Xbox One, they were trying to make all the games like download only, all this other stuff. People are going to shoot me in the face for this, but like I was a huge fan of a majority of those pitches because I thought Microsoft was really making themselves stand out. But at the end of the day, they folded and kept everything physical like always. So, Microsoft could, if they would have stuck with it in the inception, could be at the point where they can do these Steam sales and stuff like that. But
That would have been a great transition for my Xbox story.
yeah,
But instead, we're left with what we got. We got multiple stores. Everybody's going to have to be okay with it. No big deal. We're going to move on to the Sony numbers, though. That's the gaming company I want to talk about.
yeah. So this is very interesting, more so for you as the I would argue the biggest
Sony
Sony.
playing boy.
Yeah, you and this would be a great topic for Brent. But I found this very fascinating. So they did this whole like my PlayStation experience type thing where you could go on, you could download this like clip, and it like highlighted all these trophies you've earned and everything. So what it was interesting that came from that is a couple of people on Reddit noticed that they were putting like 300,000 people have unlocked this trophy, and similar to the Steam achievements, outside the trophy, it'll be like 2% of users have this or what have you. So people were just mathing this out, and you could see like the actual player-based number for certain games, which is information Sony has typically been kind of loose about.
Interesting.
So like now people have like the exact player base counts for all these different titles out there, and like this group of people on Reddit just compile all this information, and it's
Wow.
wild, man. Like
Interesting, okay.
Yeah, so now you're like, cool, 15,000 people shared this same platinum as me or whatever.
Yeah.
So
See, that to me, that's the number I want to know. Like, I've got platinums that are 0.01%.
Yeah, but that's not the important part. Isn't the percentage? It's what's the physical number.
Yeah. Is that, I mean, less than 0.01 is anything. That could be from 2 people to 100 people to 1,000 people. Like
You and Brent are going to have a platinum. You guys are going to see less than 0.01, and then find out it is actually 2, and the two of you are just going to you're going to boast about it the entire time, every single time. Yeah, we're the only 2 plat owners for this particular game.
There's actually a community, and they're very serious about trophies. And you have to be at an 85% trophy completion rate of all games in order to even apply to be a part of that community.
That's
Of
wild.
all games or all games that you've played.
All games that you've played.
That's still a lot. Like platinums.
That's a lot.
Wait,
Yeah.
What percentage are you guys at then?
Not that much. I mean, granted, no. I mean, I've platinumed like 50 games, and Brent, I think, is
But you between I mean,
closer to 60 now.
I was like, you guys have played hundreds of games. Though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem is that you always get those games where you're, this was a fun experience, but Spider-Man's here, so
Yeah, exactly.
Move
Put
on.
this down. I'll come back to it. Never come back.
never
to
come
it.
back to it, or
Yeah.
you need to make room on your hard drive. Like there's so many games that I
Yep.
can't count that I still enjoyed that I wanted to finish, but something else was took a little bit of precedence. So just kind of a war. I was playing Mirror's Edge Catalyst, super excited for that. And then I got distracted from it, and I was playing Origins, and then God of War came out. I got distracted from it. I haven't picked up Origins back up, and I plan on platinuming that game. Like it's just like lately it's been so hot and heavy that I've just been ADD like crazy.
If you don't put a squirrel over there on the screen, I'll be disappointed in you.
It'll just run across and you see me squirrel.
The interesting part about PlayStation that is it has competitors, strong competitors, very much like Nintendo. And Nintendo just released Super Smash Brothers, and they are literally killing it with Smash Brothers alone. They had sold 3 million copies in 11 days. This is like literally, it released December 7th, and by December 18th, it had sold 3 million copies. I don't know how many of those were bundled with an actual Switch, but even if you take a small amount of that, that is a huge win for them.
No kidding.
And that was December 7th. We are now almost 1 full month past that. I would be super interested to hear any more numbers that come out here soon.
No kidding.
But these guys are killing it, and they're ramping up. They wanted to sell 14,000, I think by March, they wanted to sell 14 million Switches. I'd be really interested to see if they hit that benchmark.
Yep.
A lot of people are talking about it, saying they're not going to. I almost want to put a pool in and say, who thinks they're going to? Because I do. I'm one of those guys that thinks they're going to pull it off.
Do you know how many they've sold thus far? Because they
It's
are
like 10,
currently
11 million.
in like the past however many months, they are the fastest selling console, and it's great because like
21 months.
yep, with
Well, the other thing that helps you there is, was it the news article we had that this is like the biggest month for them? The holidays are like the biggest time for them. Where they make like
60%
60%.
60% of their total earnings are between October and December.
yeah, because they put out that's the very interesting thing with Nintendo. It's like they have all their titles are like console selling titles.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like nothing that has been out thus far has really piqued my interest. But when Smash came out, I got a Switch.
How did Zelda not pique your interest?
I mean,
I figured
like,
that'd be kind of your jam.
so Zelda is my jam, but like Zelda is not my jam to the point that I will buy a console for it. So now that I have the console, I will go back and catch
fair.
up with the people for Zelda. But like Smash is my jam. You know, I just
Yeah.
love Smash. So like Smash will sell me a Nintendo console.
It's a community thing, man. You like hanging out with your friends, right? That's what playing
Exactly.
games all about.
He likes to smash.
Oh, dirty Mark. Speaking of dirty, let's talk about Xbox. Xbox right now. Oh man, what? I just had a blank. My whole brain just reset. That was crazy. Let's talk about German FCC protections real quick. So we have a very interesting case going out in
Very
Germany.
similar.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was going here, and then all of a sudden there was a stop sign, so I went this way. If you can help me out with that,
I'll
you're
get
already
you.
on it.
I'll get you.
We were talking about earlier with return rights and stuff like that, and there is actually a little bit of an update going on in Europe right now. Norway had an issue earlier this year, but since Nintendo's main little hub for Europe is in Germany, they moved the case to Germany, and it was people were pre-ordering and they wouldn't let them cancel their pre-orders. They were saying that because they had chosen to buy the pre-order online, they had technically started the download. And because of that, it is a bought product. And they don't have to oblige the cancellation.
Was this
and the
on
refund.
physical or digital?
I want to say, I don't know. Because I don't.
Because that's the thing right now is on Amazon.
I want to say
you-
digital based on how they were talking about it.
Yeah, if Amazon, if you pre-order something digitally now, you are not supposed to be able to return it or refund it or cancel it.
Well, this is before the release date. It was just a pre-order.
Right. Yeah. So it's the same on Amazon. If you pre-order something digitally, like Sea of Thieves was a big thing. Sea of Thieves, when I pre-ordered it digitally on Amazon, per their return policy, you are not supposed to be able to return anything digital that you pre-order now.
It still blows me away that people freaking do this.
Yeah.
I would never do that because, I mean, it's not the days of GameStop where you used to have to sit in line and hope that your pre-order kept while you were sitting in line for 3-4 hours waiting for Halo 2 to come out. Like, it's
So I think the big thing with that is,
specific memory.
yeah, I think the big thing with that is like when you pre-order stuff now, you always get some kind of incentive, whether it be early access or whatever.
Or in-game credits or whatever.
Yeah. And so some games, if you pre-order, you get that early access, which was a big thing with Sea of Thieves. You're downloading the game.
It's
you're
going to be
playing
with
the game.
Division 2.
Yeah. So if you that hurts their pre-orders in a way. So like, and then the company, Amazon, what have you, you won't buy the game because you'll do this free trial essential thing, and then you don't like it, and you're like, cool, I'm gonna cancel it now. So I think people are trying to kind of like stop that habit. It was the same thing with GameStop when you would go into GameStop, and if you pre-order it, you get a poster or this in-game item or whatever, and then you
get
go
that
in and you just cancel it.
one-time item, and you
Yeah.
get it ahead of time and then return it.
Yes, and you
Okay.
just go in and cancel it. And I think that's the big thing they're trying to contest currently with all that.
Okay.
So in some ways,
I mean, I feel like they're going a weird way about it if they were going to try to close that particular loophole. But, I mean, if you're going to do that, just don't give them the special item until they pick up the game. And at that point, it's a non-returnable item. Like,
Well, the thing is, they didn't download it technically, unless there was a
So-
pre-download option, which I can't attest if there was at that point. But we were just talking about it, and I found it very interesting that it's still a pretty wide discussion in Europe. Is a little bit more consumer friendly than it is over here in the Americas.
yeah.
It seems like lately.
we're more focused on business here and making money and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
we got to be making those dollar bills, yo.
Exactly.
You know what's in business? Snakes. Speaking of snakes, there's anacondas in this world.
Oh my God! Look
Tell
who
us
it is.
about.
We got two. Nick. I hate you right now. And I had my own transition I was going into, and you just blew my mind.
Smackdown.
Yeah, pretty much. He was like, "Oh, squirrel! Guess what? Whack! Squirrel!" So the next X-Ball console
Squirrel
is
hit
given
by a
code
car.
names. They are both codenamed Anaconda and Lockhart. I tried to look up Lockhart to see if there was anything really significant about that name. There's a couple of actresses and stuff like that, but nothing really like stands out. And Anaconda just got them buns, son. You know what I mean? That's all I could think about.
That's what he was going for.
That and that really bad movie. The
Oh, my gosh.
there's rumors right now that Lockhart is supposed to be the cheaper version of the Xbox that's coming out that is supposed to be stream based, and that was what they're hoping for. And Lockhart is going to be the more performance driven.
Right.
There's also rumors that the Xbox X is going to be outbeaten by whatever Lockhart is going to be. I have my doubts on how this is going to perform. It's gonna be really. Obviously it's coming out probably holiday 2020. As much information as there's coming out here right now, speculatively, there's just there's no way it's not going to. Turns out Code Scarlet was actually a code for the group of items. So Code Scarlet was the encompassing name for these two projects.
Interesting.
Yeah, because I remember Code Scarlet, and someone said, "Oh, Lockhart and Anaconda." I'm like, "Well, what happened to Scarlet? Did you scrap that thing or what?"
Yeah.
And then it turns out that it was just I didn't know they were actually going to have a name for. I guess it's a plan. Scarlet is actually a plan for them for between their streaming service and their hardware and the transitioning. I think they are going to do what you were talking about earlier and going into more of the digital base and trying to kind of marketplace their own stuff. I just think it's going to take them a little bit longer because companies have been making big moves, Epic, EA, with their marketplaces and whatnot, and they're like, well, we're not really ready for this right now, so we're going to do it with the console launch. I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing a lot more of that up here soon, especially with Google, with the Google Play stuff they were doing with Assassin's Creed. They got to lock this stuff down quick or they're going to lose out.
Yeah, and Microsoft already has a lot of that laid out. I mean, if you want to play a lot of Microsoft games on your PC with Windows 10, you have to go through the Microsoft Store.
Yep.
So a lot of the groundwork's already been laid for it. It would be super easy for them to transition to. They can cut a lot of production costs, especially if now obviously you want to have some physical, but they don't have to go for it as much. They can super promote digital downloads. Hey, you can get this $10 cheaper if you just buy it on here, or hey, here's this 30% off this game here, whereas GameStop's not going to do that because they'll lose money.
Well, they also absorbed those five companies, Ninja Theory being one of them, which is near and dear, close to my heart with Enslaved. Freaking love that game.
Yeah.
God, I can't believe that they took them. It
Yeah,
still hurts me.
I'm really excited to see what happens with Microsoft. Right now, I mean, they're the losing horse right now, so they really have to make some power moves. And what's even crappier for them is when they say, hey, here's new console, that's when Sony says, release PS5. Boom. And so, like, there's that titan in the background.
They're a little bit, about to say, they're a little bit more desperate, and the timing of that is going to be super critical to them.
Yeah.
And their continuation within this rat race that is Nintendo and Sony currently.
Yeah.
So that wraps it up.
This has been
The import.
I did it. I almost high-fived a pin.
You almost did. I was like, don't stab yourself. So that brings us to last call.
We still have a topic to do. What are we talking about?
Oh shit, that's right. My bad. You're gonna have to keep that out. Shut up.
Yeah, we're talking
sorry.
about the
I forgot
alphabet.
about the topic.
No, I'm gonna laugh because Brent's.
wasn't-
I know Brent is
I didn't
gonna
write it on my list.
Brent is going to watch this.
Don't do that.
Brent is going to watch this and see all of this happen because the other thing I realized we forgot to link classes at the beginning of this. We are
shit.
all kinds out of whack. This
Here,
episode.
here.
So there we
I
go.
got-
Do the high five again, and we'll start from there. And then you can clip that out.
No.
No, I'm leaving it now.
Oh my god, don't do that. He's gotta give us
As
some
a fellow
shit.
editor, this is how you do it. We just clank glasses, just ragdoll edit it in the beginning.
No, what I was going to do was take the one from the end where we clink glasses at the end here, and then just do it at the beginning again.
He's doing both.
This is so bad.
So anyway, we're if I understand correctly, we're learning the alphabet today.
Ooh.
Yes, A is for alphabet is entirely overbearing.
Whatever do you
overbearing?
mean?
That was really bad. I don't know why I went that way.
No, it was great. I understood.
You mean they're gonna take over the world or what?
Well, no. So, okay. So the point of my topic here, Alphabet. If you guys don't know, Alphabet is the parent company over Google and YouTube and all of the other Google subsidiary companies. So they did a corporate restructuring where Alphabet is the parent company, and then Google as well as YouTube and that kind of thing are other sub companies within that realm. But I guess the biggest question I have is Alphabet poised to rule the digital world, or do they already?
They're definitely trying.
So my thought process here isn't necessarily that they're going to rule it in a bad way, because I don't think that Alphabet has a particular negative. I don't have a negative connotation whenever I think of Google or Alphabet. I don't have a negative connotation even for Apple being the other side of the phone and computer market, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
My thing is that they're looking to, or are they in a position to take control over everything?
No, there's too much. There's too much money in other places, or at least not like rapidly. I think that you're seeing a huge shift in the marketplace towards Android from Apple because, like you was talking about earlier, they're getting kind of stale. They're not really doing much lately outside of their camera work and a little bit of their processing.
Well, I mean, Android already owns, I think it's 70 or 80% of the market anyway.
Yeah, and it's going to grow. It's just going to be small. Apple was on the forefront. It was sleek. It was hot, and people liked it. They got used to it, and they bought a bunch of their stuff. And they want to keep being able to use that stuff with their Apple products.
I
So
think
they're
I
kind of
still
like
think
me.
that goes both ways though, with even like the laptops and everything too. Because and I'm not just talking about the mobile
Oh,
section
yeah.
here. I'm talking about internet space. I'm talking about computer space. I'm talking about everything. So-
Gaming space, even they're getting in on that too.
Yeah.
Actually,
Actually,
I didn't think they would have to get in on that, but apparently they have to.
Well, so this was an art. Actually, I hadn't even thought about that part whenever I thought about this particular topic anyway, because I just saw a lot of articles coming out about Google and the different things that they were doing anyway. That it maybe wanted to see what your opinions were, I guess.
So Alphabet, you said this already, but I don't know what was going on in my mind. So Alphabet is just like the owner of Google. What else do they own?
So they're essentially just a holdings company for Google and YouTube and the other subsidiaries that are underneath that.
Oh, so I totally
Waymo
think
and all
that Google is. See, I say take over the world very loosely, but I do think that if a lot of their projects come to fruition, that they are very poised to take over a large portion of the job market. Even with stuff just like that whole automated voice thing that talks back to you and can book everything for you.
I
think
Duo.
the assistant. No, that's assistant stuff.
So I
Duo
think-
is the video chat service.
So I think that with the Google Assistant being able to do all that for you, that eventually evolves to consume call center jobs. And call center jobs are a large portion of big business. Bank of America has a ton of them. Wells has a portion of them.
Yeah.
And I really think that like in this world we're going to full of automation, that Google is setting itself up in a big way. Google already has so much info just by using Google Maps, which I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the most used mapping platform. They know where you're at all times. You always use the Google search engine. Like the only people that can really compete with them, if I just had to guess, I'm not knowledgeable in this, would be like Facebook has a ton of user data because everyone has a Facebook. So Google is in a prime spot to not necessarily take over the world, though we have seen with like the whole crisis in Europe that like they are taking a large portion of the market and people are starting to want to fight back to that. Now, I think what negates that, take the good with the bad, is like when you have someone like Epic who's like, hey, we're going to stand up to you. We don't want you to rule this. Like, we're going to show people that there are other options out there. Now, the issue with that is the other options suck, plain and simple. I think Siri is horrible. I think Bixby is even worse than Siri,
is.
and that is
Yep.
a statement.
Yep.
Like,
coming from a resident Samsung fanboy here.
yeah, and then you have Alexa, and like I think Alexa's really cool.
She's
and
getting better,
I think
but
Alexa's
it's
doing
nowhere
really
near
well.
the level of Google.
Well, no. So I think Alexa was in a much better position than Google Assistant ever was at one time. Actually, because technically Alexa predates Google Assistant
Yeah.
to a great extent. Because it used to just be Google Voice Search or whatever
Yeah.
it was before that, or Google Search, or Google Voice or something. I don't remember. But no. So Alexa was in a good spot because Amazon just pops out of literally nowhere with this thing that says you can talk to it and say whatever you want to control in your house, or ask it questions, or look for recipes, listen to audio, whatever.
The thing is, it's not nearly as good as Google. Everything
No,
that
no,
Google
so-
does is better than its predecessor. They are doing this copycat thing, but they're doing it in a better fashion.
Google, I think, took probably the better route in thinking of it, where Amazon probably went with a more pre-canned response kind of idea.
Gut instinct almost.
What do you mean?
It,
Also-
it almost just seemed like it came out of nowhere. They were
Oh,
like,
yeah,
people
yeah.
might like this because they like the Alexa. Just throw this thing out with a screen and see if they like that.
I still
Well,
think
no,
the
no,
Alexa has a
that's
huge
the
power
show,
position.
yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, no, you're good.
I still think Alexa has a huge power position in the fact that with Google, I can't order things, but for convenience in
You
mobile,
can now.
you can.
Domino's and all that stuff has integrations with
Right. So
Google
like
Assistant. Yeah.
the biggest online retail market, Amazon, very convenient. You're aligned with them.
That's the one thing they won't ever be able to touch.
So
like
Yeah.
so in terms of convenience, just ordering like simplistic things, I think the dash buttons may be a little overbearing, but they're super convenient. They're like $5 if I need to order laundry detergent. Click, it's in my cart, order it. Hey, order me, because there's one right there. So like, order me my detergent. Boom, it's right there for you. There's a lot of convenience for it, and you would know more than this than me probably, but for a long time with the Hue lights that we use here, Alexa had different features than Google.
you could use scene. So like with Hue lights anyway, which by the way is what we're using for a lot of this set. Where Alexa shined was that they could utilize the scenes that you could set up for particular color modes or configurations of brightness and things like that for different times of the day. Google Assistant never had that integration because whether Hue or Google never included it in Home or whatever it was, but I mean now they both have them. But for a long time anyway, that was one of the biggest pros for using Alexa with Hue.
Okay.
And with all their successes, I think it's just as good to point out that Alphabet and Google have failed some markets that they've wanted to take over. In my opinion, Mark is a much bigger user of these, but like Google tried to enter the phone market with some phones and they flopped for a long time.
Nexus was a big flop for a while, and then Pixel just took
And
off
even
after that.
even to a degree, they tried to launch their own phone service, and they made this big ordeal about it. And then I think they partnered with Sprint. It's been a long time since they sold phones.
Why?
No. Well, so the way that Google Fi is the service he's talking about. Google Fi, the way that it works is you have phones that are capable of connecting themselves to literally every network.
Okay.
Like they're completely universal and completely unlocked. But the difference is that Google Fi has contracts with 3 different companies: U.S. Cellular, Sprint, and I want to say T-Mobile. But the idea is that you can use those or maybe AT&T. But anyway, you can use which of those 3 networks has the best connection available for you. So regardless of where you are in the country, you're utilizing one of those 3 carriers to get the best service you can.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was like super cheap pricing, but
$10 per gigabyte, and if you didn't use your data, they gave you the money back on your account.
yeah,
What?
Down to the tenth of a cent, down to the tenth of a dollar, so every 10 cents anyway, based on the first digit of the number of gigabytes you used. So
And
That's awesome.
if you had 10 gigabytes and used 4.6, they gave you 5.4, or they gave you $5.40 back.
Why did it fail?
It's not necessarily that it failed. It's still around.
they just canned it.
It's just not as prevalent. You know, they still offer it. It's still
Oh, they do? Okay, I thought it was gone. Okay.
No, Google Fi is still
I was about to say,
available.
he's saying canned. You're saying
No.
He knows a bit more about this.
Oh, I know.
Google
Yeah.
Fi is still around. It's still a service that they offer. It's just it hadn't been as popular anymore, as popular, I guess, whenever it started, because you could only do it with a Nexus 6 phone specifically. Then it expanded to the 5X and the 6P. And then the Pixel devices obviously could carry it. But now they're starting to expand to other phones that allow it. For example, actually, the OnePlus 6T apparently is supposed to be capable of being on their network.
That's cool. So I guess being a normal person and not in your techie world of confusingness, I would say like in the stuff that we use as a normal population that isn't in your world, like Google Sheets and stuff like that, like
Okay,
Drive.
yeah, Drive.
I feel like they do all that better. Like
Interesting.
there are other like Dropbox, for instance, has their own drive, and then you have Microsoft worksheets and stuff. I just feel like they do everything to a better extent. Every time someone like the Alexa show came out, they came out with the Google
Home Hub.
Google
Home.
Home Hub, yeah.
Home
I've used the Google Assistant, and it is much more pliable than it is with Alexa. It is able to grab more things, and I attribute that to their access to Google.
Well,
Yeah.
Instead
but
of,
even
I
then-
think Alexa is probably using their own proprietary internet engine.
Well,
search
so
engine.
the point I was going to make a little earlier, and whenever you start talking about Google Assistant versus Alexa in that particular respect, I think Google made the better play because Alexa, whenever it first came out, seemed like it was more focused around pre-canned responses for things, and then being able to just sort of parse out information from a search, to find certain bits of information. Like if you asked it what the distance was to the moon, that kind of thing. That can be a pre-canned response. The difference is it just needs to search for it and find the information it's looking for effectively. And there's already algorithms out there to determine that. I think Google went with the better play because they use AI for all of this. So the idea is it doesn't just learn based on the internet to understand, what it is and or what it needs to return as far as information to you if you ask it something, but it's customized to you in that sense too, where the artificial intelligence can understand what your preferences are, how you ask for things, what kind of information you're looking for based on your location, like even your home configuration. Now that there is Google Home, or the Home app and home configuration anyway with your smart home devices, it can make things much simpler that are more targeted towards you because it has that information about you as well as the information that it has available to it based on the breadth of the internet.
Okay.
So I think Google went with better play there, which only contributes further to their take over the digital world kind of idea.
So do you think it's gonna be an evil thing?
No, not at all. I think Google has very good, very genuine intentions here. That, don't get me wrong, they don't play the PR game very well on a lot of different essences. You know, the whole sexual harassment issue of what's his name, the creator of Android.
Oh yeah.
That'll come to me. That was an article I had a while ago
Yeah.
where it you know, where for some reason they don't seem to handle the whole sexual harassment issue. They don't seem to handle the issue of employees speaking out even. You know, that very well. They haven't had very good PR from that respect. So from a personal perspective, they don't seem to do very well. But I think from a digital perspective, you can't compete. They are who they are because they're good at what they do and they have a passion for what they do. And I think that's the reason they're going to be
They have the resources.
the good side of the coin. Well, yeah, and because they have passionate people, they can build those resources to get there.
Yeah.
Because what is it? Google search is still the most profitable thing that they have.
Yeah.
Advertisements alone, just from the search engine, from the search pages, is the most profitable thing that they have.
I can imagine.
YouTube doesn't make them as much money, but it has more money flow coming through.
Yeah.
And that's the #1 video streaming platform.
It is.
So like everything they
And
touch
it's-
just kind of turns to gold. And again, to like not even taking over the digital world, if you even just look at everyday world, Mark, again, you probably know way more than this than I, but I'll try to get there. So they made a smart decision that Elon Musk with Tesla did not want to make, and Google invested tons of money into LiDAR, and now Google is getting into the automated car industry in the fact that they are going to compete with Uber. And at least from like the early tests, like they are looking really solid, and they're like ready to deploy as soon as possible.
We talked about that, right?
It's already So they've already got their trial service running in Phoenix, Arizona. So what they had was the cars with a test driver, sort of just driving around the city on its own, but with a test driver there to be able to take control if it needed to. They didn't report anything as far as like during the trial period in particular, but they actually opened up the rideshare service in Phoenix and got approval to do so. And it has been running now for the last 2 months.
That's awesome.
With only one reported accident caused by the other driver.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that was a test driver, wasn't it?
No,
the test driver was
This
on their
is like
phone
a
or
public
something.
road driver. I
Oh,
think.
okay.
No. So this was This was completely automated. There was no driver in the driver's seat.
Oh, okay.
Like, and there were passengers in the passenger seat. It was driving through a parking lot, and a Prius backed out into the side of it.
And I think it's super cool that Google's doing it. I also think it's super crappy because if you're Uber and you've been trying to get to these automated cars, like Google is beating you to it, and that is bad news for Uber. So like while Google takes over, they put other people down, you know, and that's where kind of the push and pull comes.
But you can't really argue because if they're doing it right, then where's the harm in it?
The fact that there's going to be less people earning money doing Uber.
Yeah. And again,
Not
I
a whole lot
think,
you can do about that.
Yeah.
and again, to my kind of point I alluded to earlier, I think that in terms of taking over the world, Google is going to do a fantastic job of replacing kind of the more like mediocre, tedious jobs that a lot of people don't want to do, like call centers. Yes, some people really enjoy Uber, but like if you could not pay those people to do Uber, which is what Uber's trying to do anyway, like at that point it's inevitable it happens, might as well be Google. They already have all the Google Maps infrastructure, so they know everyone's pathing. It doesn't have to take time to learn like Uber's would have to do. I'm sure there's some kind of development lingo where like they could just pick it up and have all that, but Google has it all in-house. They're like, cool, here's all the data uploaded to all our cars. Go.
This is the one thing that has always worried me, and it worries me about the way that companies operate in general now, is that the only way for them to earn enough to keep their stockholders happy and keep dividends up is to go automation, get rid of jobs, and try to benefit off of that too much. We're killing jobs left and right.
Yep.
And I feel like they're going to be the company that is going to Skynet us into the ground. And then it's just going to blow us up, and it's going to be like, we don't need you anymore.
I think
You
that
know,
is
all
a
jokes
law.
set aside, I mean, if there's no one working, there's no one paying for your product, company, it's going to crumble.
So there's a country in Europe that's already kind of preparing for that. Could be mistaken. I believe it's like Switzerland or something. But I argue that will happen inevitably. Warehouses are already starting to go into them. Like I worked at an Amazon warehouse, and there were many Amazon warehouses that have all kinds of things automated anyway. So like all the air quote hundreds of jobs that their factories bring, depending on how they build the factory, may not be that many because you only need like 15 people to run the whole thing.
Yeah.
I fortunately was not in one of those, but I've seen them in action, and like, it's just kind of one of those things of like, it's going to happen. It's more of, in my opinion, up to, I guess you would say our government to brace for that. And a big thing this other country's doing is, hey, here's a universal income. Like, everyone makes this, so that way when you have people that just can't work because and AI can do it better, it's like, hey, you still get this amount of money a month, you can live and
Socialism.
yeah.
I'll say Karl Marx. What are we going to do about that?
So there are solutions out there for that. It does suck though. I agree it sucks, but more people have more free time. They can learn more, perhaps go to jobs they couldn't have had otherwise, or focus on passion.
That can happen now.
Right now is the time to have a job in engineering or technology.
I'm about to say,
Yeah.
the
It
things
really
that I
is.
see a future in jobs with because of this is going to be the physical jobs, like the vocational things,
Oh,
like
yeah,
electrical, plumbing, just mechanical
car
fixing,
mechanics,
anything.
like better yet, machine mechanics. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, those are the jobs you can't eliminate because you still have to have somebody physically to work on them.
Hard
Yeah.
labor.
Yeah, well, because what is it? One of the hard labor jobs is already spiking. Welders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Welders right now, because there's a giant there was like a giant surge, I guess, of people who. Oh, I'm sorry, all the way around. There was a giant drought of people basically that stayed away from being a welder because it took a lot of skill to get there, a lot of training and a lot of time to really learn how to weld very well, especially. But now there are welder jobs available for 6 figures.
Yeah.
Because because there's a shortage of them. There aren't people willing to really take the job, so they've had to increase the pay tremendously for
You
them.
get paid more if you do underwater welding.
Yeah.
It's freaking nuts.
It's crazy, man. I mean,
Yeah.
and there's all kinds of stuff like that. So I think that from a technological world, Google will take over. They will start paving the way. Amazon will still be stubborn, and they will do their thing with their stuff.
Well, I mean, they're a
Well, like right
they're
now,
a cash cow as it is. So
yeah, like right now, I think Alexa's super keyed with like a lot of home surveillance systems. A lot. Google's kind of like shied away, like whatever, we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah.
And so Amazon's leaps ahead there. Google will continue to focus on things that are important, but then the hard labor jobs are what will spike.
Amazon's going to do better if it does partnerships because they're going to be able to sell that equipment on their site to be able to work with their equipment when it's at home.
Google's already kind of beat them to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure. But at the same
what's-
time, like they actually have
And
the
Facebook's in
shop
the market now.
functionality, too.
Facebook with their
Neato.
portal.
Portal. That's it.
Yeah, they have-
Portal?
yeah, so that's basically this huge tablet that you can have horizontal or vertical,
It's
and it's a
basically-
video chat thing where you can call people. It's
Is it a
basically Facebook.
Orange blue color scheme. That'd be cool.
I think it's black and white.
Orange, blue.
He's
game.
he's the game portal.
Oh,
He does.
It's okay.
I'm with you. But yeah, so it's
their.
it's their take on the Echo Show and all that stuff. I mean, it got good reviews. Seems to be doing pretty well. The Echo Show did not have good reviews, mainly because it was pitched with YouTube, and then
And it's this small with a screen this big and it's round.
Yeah.
But it was pitched where you could watch YouTube videos, and the whole Amazon Google debacle happened. They're like, "Cool, you know what? Your devices don't have YouTube anymore," and they were like,
Oh yeah, you know about that, right? Fire Sticks and Fire TV and that kind of stuff don't have a YouTube app.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
can't.
They have like this off-brand YouTube thing. It was great because when Dylan got his new TV, I was like, "Oh, we'll just put this off-brand thing on there." He's like, "I'm just gonna Chromecast. I hate you."
Well, I mean, I'm worried for our future in certain fashions. I hope that the people that are making all the money, that are making all the decisions, are also thinking about us individuals as a whole, in a sense, and that it's not going to destroy us
Yeah.
in
No,
our efforts
hope,
to maximize efficiency.
I hope we have good people behind the wheel at least.
Yeah.
I think we do, and I think Google, yes, is poised to take over and probably will take over the digital world and take over the digital age just because they're very well poised to do so. But we've seen them make moves in spaces that don't belong to them to improve those other spaces and be an influence in that respect.
I don't remember the name. Google Fiber. Google Fiber, they had no business jumping in internet. They went out to make a statement. They have, from my understanding, stopped expanding that at all. Like they're going to finish their ones that they already had. But it's like, hey, AT&T, Verizon, Comcast, like
Time Warner.
Time Warner, we're showing you, hey, you can do this way better and cheaper. And I think it's just like the only reason they stopped is because it's just too pricey to try to take over all these areas.
They were paying AT&T to bury the fiber lines in Charlotte.
Yeah.
And the best part is like they started that the gigabit revolution where like Time Warner Cable had no interest in giving those speeds to anybody, and then they said, "Well, we're going to," and they're like, "We're gonna do it now." Yeah. And AT&T's like, "Yeah, we're gonna do it too."
Yeah.
And then they disappeared, but we still have these speeds, and thanks to them,
Yeah, they just
would've
show
been-
you
it would
like
have happened without
If
them.
we hadn't done that, we'd still be stuck in the sub 1 to 200 megabit range.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you were paying massive amounts of money, but because they came up and said, "We're going to give it to you for a decent price," they had to
Here's
compete
gigabit
with
for-
something
here-
that didn't even exist
Here's
yet.
gigabit for $50 a month. For what?
yeah.
Unheard of.
Yeah.
I hope they
Better
do
yet,
that.
here's
Speaking
a
of unheard of, let's
better
get
yet-
that cup over here.
That's fair. Better yet, my favorite part from Google Fiber is a free tier service
Yeah.
with 15 megabits per second.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's just, and
so.
I hope they do the same. I hope they reevaluate the what'd you say? Google Fi was the phone service. I hope they reevaluate that, and they're like, "Hey, Verizon, you're the main people that do unlimited data, and you charge this much for it. Put it on the table.
Yeah.
You can make these infrastructures cheaper because that's the big thing with like unlimited data with Verizon. Still stood by my statement. Hey, Verizon, if you put unlimited data out, I'll switch to it. I was a man of my word. I did. But now they're like constantly easing the prices up because they're like, it's a lot of load right now. We need to ease this up, and also we're going to limit it during these times. They're going very T-Mobile-esque with it, whereas T-Mobile has unlimited data, but like during certain times of the day, they super restrict the amount of data you can get, all this other stuff.
Throughput bandwidth, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like Google step in, flex on Verizon. That's I think that's how Google. I think Google is like the white knight. You know, they're like, hey,
They want to be.
You're
Yeah.
being treated wrong. This is how we fix it.
Yeah.
Get in line, or we will take over your market.
I'll be excited to see more of it. See more of their white knightedness.
Yeah, we'll find out exactly what that turns out to be. It'll be more like a gray night to me.
All right, since you had preemptively done it before, now it's time. Last call.
Last call. I don't know what to do here.
So we really don't have any idea what to do here either.
Well, I actually had an idea. The whole thing that you have to say here, and this is Brent's usual job, is you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. But he does it better than me, so I don't
and
want to.
that's the ending.
Yeah.
But sure, yeah. No,
That's what he does.
I'm gonna find because actually we had some suggestions.
Well, he says that right after the bell, man.
So what is?
We had some suggestions from the last episode. Actually,
for
in
the people that are
comments from us.
unaware-
Yeah, I'm gonna pull those up. Real
For the people that are unaware, what is last call?
It's
So
where
last
you,
call
you
is-
finish up your drinks and we have a little conversation at the end and be done with it.
So last call is essentially our last sort of bit of the show where we talk about literally anything, and the idea is that the topic is supposed to come from our audience. It's supposed to come from the our viewers anyway to make those decisions for us, because we want to hear what they've got what they want to hear from us anyway. And the idea is it's just supposed to be a small conversation.
So it's a Q&A of sorts.
Sort of, yeah.
Cool.
Or like if we wanted to do, I think one of the things I planned on doing was a little bit of a quiz show one day.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, based on
Be fun.
video game history and stuff like that, and just kind of like get everybody's wowzers up. Like,
Mark
what
will
was
win
the
that.
what was the best game that was sold in the N64 generation? What was the best game sold in the GameCube generation? Like,
$20 on Mark to win.
oh yeah,
You've heard it right here first.
What?
I can't wait to understand where you come up with that figure and why.
I believe in the underdog.
What?
You know what? And that's why movies are good.
Yep.
Well, I know I know I saw it on here at one point, and I don't seem to find
Well,
it now.
I'm
So
going to
for
tell
one
you
of
what
your-
I want to do. I just want to talk
Sure.
about my favorite present that I got this year.
Okay.
And it was a total surprise. My family, like we agreed, my niece, she's going to get all the monies. She's going to get all the presents, all the clothes that she wants, all her toys that she wants, the shenanigans, like whole shebang.
Okay.
Dad pulls out the surprise gift for me, which, man, at first I was super heated because I was like, I didn't get anything for you. And then I thought to myself, that's not what Christmas is about. It's about you wanting to get a gift for someone because you wanted to.
Yeah.
And not that you felt like you had to. And parents are hard to buy for, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like my mom, if she wants something, she goes out and gets it.
My dad's
If I'm
the same
lucky,
way.
her phone's broken, and I'm like, I got you a new phone.
That's how my dad. My dad's like, cool. If I need it, I'll go buy it. If I already have it and it broke, I'm gonna fix it because I'm the best handyman I know. Like that's.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, cool, I
So-
can't buy you anything. I like that.
It's horrible bike for parents.
Yeah.
Well, no, so I tried to make it difficult on my father this year. I didn't tell him anything that I wanted in particular, but it gave him no hints or anything like that.
Oh.
He still came through.
Nice.
Honestly. No, but like for my dad, it's always been a thing of I have to find something randomly. Then like, that's really cool, and I have to bookmark it and hold it, until like literally the end of the year so that I can order one.
Yeah.
Like well, actually, my grandfather, anyway, for this case, anyway, I came across these advertisements, and being in aviation, of course, I see these, but for airplane keychain tags, like literally there's first off, there's a place out in the desert called the aviation graveyard, or the aircraft graveyard. Literally, old airplanes anyway that are rusted out or can't be flown anymore, that kind of thing, are taken there and literally just left in this giant desert area, just like cars anyway that never sell.
Yeah.
That's where they end up,
The airport parkways.
basically. So the idea is what this company's doing is taking panels and buying parts of the airplane anyway to take out the outer panels with the original paint on them from like Virgin American Airlines, B-17s and B-22s from the military that are sitting out there, that kind of thing, and we'll
The bombers?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Remove the rivets from them anyway, and take entire sheets of the outer shell of the metal on it, and then we'll cut out small tags anyway and put laser engravings on them of the type of airplane and like an outline of it, that kind of thing, with the tail number and all that
That's
stuff.
so cool.
Right, and I stumbled upon it because it was an advertisement on Instagram, and I was like, I gotta buy that for my grandfather. There's no way, like that's how it's
Awesome.
gonna work. So
That is
but,
badass.
but that's the only way I can find a gift for them.
Speaking of advertisements that I never knew the outcome of, what did you get?
Beretta shotgun.
I didn't even think
No, you're cool. It was the topic, and he ran with it. So he was on a roll. So I was like,
I
take
brought
it.
the train back.
But I got me and my dad
That's
like
right,
1 year ago.
Have you shot it yet?
No, it's gonna happen. I'm going to Ireland, by the way, which is why the Irish whiskey, the Temple Bar shirt, the whole thing. It's coming, baby. We're going to Ireland. We'll be drinking us some good old fashioned Guinness and some with Jameson. It's gonna be delicious. And I'm going to the Smithwick's factory. It's gonna be awesome.
Aren't you meeting Brent out there?
Yeah, me, Brent, and they're on their honeymoon right now. They're in the UK. They're gonna meet me out in Ireland, and we're gonna hang out there for a while. It's gonna be but Dad, me and him 1 year ago went to Cabela's, and we were checking out shotguns just for we were in the area, and we were like, well, let's go check the store out. And I was looking at it, and I fell in love with that shotgun. It was freaking beautiful. It's got like the metal is blue, and the wood stock is fits.
The woodwork on it looks. The picture you showed me looks really good.
Oh my God, the fit on it in general, just up against the shoulder, it's like butter, like melted butter just forming to your shoulder. It feels so good.
So to stick with the last call Q&A format, did you find anything? If not, I'm gonna run with it.
What?
Did you find
You
anything
were
on your
supposed to be
computer?
looking for a story.
Oh yeah.
I was
Um,
buying
so-
us time.
We had one. We had one from Evan actually.
Oh, cool.
Most triumphant gaming moment.
Ooh, that's harsh. You go ahead, but I'm gonna have to think about this one.
So, man, there's so many that I've
I
just been
know.
so relieved by. So the one I'm gonna stick to my guns with, that I'll pitch, because it's the only game that made me break a controller, was the first God of War. The first God of War on the hardest difficulty. I was younger. I don't even remember how old I was, but I wanted to beat it on the hard. I forgot the name of it, but essentially, like, I went through this whole game, and there were so many terrorizing moments, and then I got to the final boss, which is Ares. If you haven't played it by now, whatever, take the spoiler. Ares is the final boss. He's a 3-phase thing, and I was super good at the first and third phase, but the second phase, when like you have to protect your wife from all these demons that are coming in, was ridiculous. It made me so mad. I was stuck on that final boss for maybe 3 weeks. I broke a controller in the middle of that. And I finally I remember the day that I beat it. I was like, this is it. Fuck this game. Like, it's done.
I'm out.
Yeah.
There you go. I want to say probably there's a game that I was like obsessed with. It was actually on PS Plus. It was Velocity 2X, and it's basically a run shooter where like it's constantly scroll slowly, but you can go faster by holding the scroll button, and you have to teleport at certain times and in like it's super fast, right? Like I'll show you a clip from it, and you'll understand. But you have to basically hold down the scroll button, so it's going like this, and you're moving and teleporting at the same time. And on the last levels, it was 2. You were controlling 2 separately. So at the same, like freely, it wasn't like they were equidistant to each other or anything. You were controlling them separately and having to transport and get through this level and collect everything all in the same run to get the top score.
Holy crap.
That sounds ridiculous.
It was the best platinum I ever earned. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. And that was the trophy name. Yippee-ki-yay.
Was it really?
Yes, it was.
That's awesome.
And I said, as soon as I got it, and I was like, yeah. I mean, dude, Brent watched me. I was sitting at the kitchen counter when we were living at the needlepoint place. And he looked at me and goes, oh, did you make it? I was like, yes, I did. Because I'm telling you, you could hear the creaks coming out of my PlayStation Vita. I'm like, it was like, nyah, 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 and I was just like, oh, man. There's a couple of times Brian was like, I thought you were going to pop that thing. But it was definitely one of my most memorable trophies I've ever earned.
That's awesome. So mine, Halo 3 was probably the game that I've played for the longest amount of time. I probably played that for every bit of a year and a half, 2 years. Just because Halo 4 took years after that to come out. Halo 3 for me, Lone Wolves was always my thing. So your highest rank, or your rank anyway, was always based on whatever ranked playlist you played or had the highest rank in out of the whole collection. So you could do Lone Wolves, doubles, whatever, team-based, other things. So mine was always Lone Wolves. I always played by myself, so I played free-for-all, basically, 6 people to a match. And there was a grade I was trying to get, Colonel, and I don't remember the grade before that. But with the ranking system, it was based on a skill score that you got that was based on your KDR and certain actions you did, and it was kind of like hush-hush behind the scenes, like of how you actually got this score. But the better you played, obviously, the better you did kind of thing. So Colonel required a grade 40 with a maximum grade 50 anyway for whatever the next one was, or General, I think was the last one. So I was just trying to get Colonel. I'm just trying to play the living crap out of this to get Colonel. And I got really close. I made like the last rank before it. And I played, I want to say, for 2 months straight, playing Lone Wolves, trying to get this. And it was constantly 38, 39, 38, 39, 38, 39, 38, 38, 37, 39, 38, 39. Then like back and forth constantly for like 2 months. And I just got so fed up with it when we finally, like everyone else had like moved on from Halo 3, I think, to move on to like Modern Warfare 2 or whatever it was that was out at the time. So I said, screw it, and I put it down. And I stopped playing. And I don't think I played it for every bit of like 5 months. We're on summer vacation. We were out for the summer, had a place rented in the Outer Banks here in North Carolina, and we were in a house, and I'm the only one up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, I don't know what to play. So I threw Halo in, and I was like, screw it. I'm going to try it and see what I get. First round I played, 39 to 40, Colonel. The problem is that so in the rank system, it's twofold. So you have your rank, like Colonel and General and things like that, but then you have grades that go with that. Yeah. And that's based on the number of like skill points or a number of ranked points that you have, particularly whenever you've been playing. The problem is I was stuck at that last rank for so long, and I played for so long. Like I played and earned so many of those ranked points that I actually skipped grade 1 and grade 2, went straight to Colonel grade 3 because I just played the living crap out of the previous one to skip over everything.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
That's
so
crazy.
if you go back, if you could still look at my like Halo 3 rank, you'll see that Colonel grade 1 and grade 2 are still grayed out because I never even made it. I went straight to Colonel grade 3 whenever I got it. But that was like the moment for me. It's 3 in.m. Everyone else in the house is asleep. It was like freaking out in my chair kind of thing because it's the first game I've played and I haven't touched it in months.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. Hell yeah.
I worked my ass off for that for 2 years basically, and then finally achieved it for some reason after I hadn't touched the game for a long time.
There's actually one more. I'm gonna get one more in.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to hit a question.
Hit it.
For just to keep with the thing, what is, this could pertain to your question, I don't know. What is, from your whole life, what is your favorite Christmas moment?
Okay, that's easy for me. My dad really loves Christmas Story. Red Ryder BB gun thing.
Do you
holds
watch
us-
that every single Christmas at
Yes.
least 3 times? My family does too.
We literally have it just on. It's on the 24 hours of Christmas stories
Yes.
on the TV. It just plays all day while we're cooking and
That
doing
is
stuff.
exactly how my
And I
family does.
eventually watch the entire movie in its spurts, but it's perfectly fine with us.
Yeah.
It's good to know that we're not the only ones.
No, yeah. So just a quick note with this: my brother, my youngest brother, he got the exact Red Ryder BB gun, and my dad timed it with the movie because it's always on. He timed it to like, "Hey, Justin, what's that?" And he was like, "Oh, it's a BB gun. That's really cool." And he was like, "Hey, go open that present." And so like as the kid like sees like, wow, it's a Red Ryder BB gun, my brother was just like, wow, it's a Red Ryder BB gun.
That's awesome.
I was like, only dad jokes would do
well
this.
played.
Yeah, only dad jokes would do that.
Mom had a thing with guns for a while when I was growing up. She didn't want me having BB guns and stuff. And Dad was, like I said, was super on the Christmas story stuff. And he's like, yeah, but it's like a childhood like coming to man story. Like you gotta have your toys, right?
Yeah.
And so he didn't give me the BB gun. He got me a paintball gun.
Next best thing.
Yeah, I was like, modern, perfect. I can still shoot it outside. Ain't gonna kill anything.
You better yet, you could shoot your sister with it and annoy the crap out of her.
Ooh, no. I did taser her one time though.
What?
Yeah, that's a different story.
I think you should paintball her instead of
Yeah.
taser.
Well, it was funny because I tasered her through an electrical line.
That'll be our top. That'll be our last call for next week. Have you
Yeah.
ever tased your sibling?
I've tased a lot of people in my lifetime. But it was really cool because as soon as I opened it, I saw my mom stare. She was like, and I was just like, thanks for the hit, Dad. That's all I could think of.
She should have been looking at you. She should have been looking at him.
She was looking at him.
Oh.
And I was thanking him for taking the hit. I was like, thank you. It was awesome. Loved
Worthy
it.
sacrifice.
Absolutely.
You want to go ahead, Mike?
Oh, best Christmas moment. Well, actually, I kind of touched on it before. Was the bicycles, but trying to think if there's another one.
If you need time to think, I'll jump ahead of you.
Go for it.
All right, so I can't pick one. I have to pick two because they're equal. But to sum them both up, because they're different time periods of my life. So the first one was when I was very young. My family never really had, like, we had a computer, but it was like, think the crappiest computer you could ever imagine. That's what we owned. And like, you know, we had like dial up, so we like never did anything on the computer. So like as a kid, I always played. I'm still a huge fan of wrestling. And as a kid, I was a major fan of wrestling. So I always played with the little wrestling figures. And they had never, you know, I would go to my neighbors. I had this bag, like duffel bag of like 30 wrestlers, bro. And I had like the ring. It was awesome. Like super nerding out. I was always like hitting on my buddy, like, hey man, like you got your wrestlers. I'll bring Sting and all them over. Like we'll make a whole pay-per-view out of it. And, but one figure they never put out was a referee. Never did. They finally put out a referee and it sold out everywhere. And like in the age of before computers, my parents, you know, we had to drive everywhere. So it was like my dad and my mom team working up, like calling every Toys R Us, Walmart, all around the state. And I think like 2 nights or something before Christmas, because I used to always have to go to my grandparents and hang out for a while, they drove like some ridiculous amount, like 3.5 hours, because they found one referee in the store, held it. And so they drove like 3.5, 4 hours away, bought this like $15 referee that like had no mobility to it. It just only held up the number 2, so you could never get to a 3 count. They drove all the way and got it, and it was like delightful. So now we fast forward to when Kepley's family found technology, and I was a big Pokemon card player, all about it. Had this huge collection. I had a Blastoise and a Venusaur. Venusaur's a big one, right? Yeah? Yeah, I had a Venusaur, both holographic, first edition, always missing Charizard. Always missing him.
I know, right?
So insert greatest dad, like good guy, bad cop moment of all time. So my dad goes online, eBay, I think it was. He buys this pack of like 50 cards, and it came in this huge tote. It could have been more than 50 packs of cards. So anyway, he gives me this pack of cards. I open all of them. I get more holographic Blastoise, more holographic Venusaurs, get a regular Charizard. I get all these things, right? Like, I open all of them. I get no Charizard in any of the packs. I'm like devastated because this was the prime moment for me to get Charizard. And I go through all of Christmas, everything, dump out my stocking. But the hidden thing behind this was when I dumped out the whole stocking, my hidden gift was stuck in there. so it didn't come out. So I'm like, crap, like, you know, I didn't get this card. My dad's like, yeah, too bad. And then my dad, like, he's sitting there and he realized that he's like, wait a minute, he doesn't have all his gifts. And so he's like, hey, did you get everything out of your stocking? And, you know, I was like, yeah, I got it all. He's like, you should check. And I was like, no, Dad, like, I got everything. It's cool. You know, I'm not in comedy. He's like, no, I'm pretty sure you didn't get everything. And so I'm like, fine, I'll go check. So I, like, reach my hand in and I grab this, like, seal-framed card. And I pull it out, and it is a first edition holographic Charizard that he bought individually from a person, probably paid way too much money for.
Kip, I'm starting to think your parents love you a lot more than mine do.
Dude, like, like, I'm super grateful. I mean, and, you know, those were, like, the two big moments, like, for my holidays, because, like, I needed that ref, right? Because I'm running shows here. You know, I got to have a referee. I can't have Triple H filling in all the time. He's a busy guy. And then just, like, the card, man. The card was, like, I still remember just, like, how much of a BA I felt like when I was, like, and Charizard, and I would never take it out of the plastic frame.
Yeah,
so it's
they
like,
know when it's coming.
So it's like when I draw that card, it's super obvious because it's right there. They're like, oh, I wonder what you got, Kepley.
You know what this is.
But it's still there, still at my parents' house.
That's
so
awesome.
That and the ref is somewhere too.
I kept my original collection as well.
Yeah.
I think the only holographic Charizard I could ever get a hold of was a Japanese one. Not happy.
Yeah, those are my two moments. And then, you know, I had this past Christmas. It was awesome. Got a Switch and a TV. So
I had to trade for that one.
I haven't got a gift. Like, it's not that I haven't got a gift. It's that, like, my parents just haven't, because my brother's, like, all about Christmas. I have two younger brothers. And I'm like, cool, don't get me anything. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know, so I've done that for, like, several years. And then this year, my mom and dad were like, hey, we've not done anything for you for, like, ever. Here. And I'm like, wow, like, you didn't have to, but I super appreciate it. And I'm just in my room nerding out on Smash, like, every night now.
Yeah, man. That's what's up.
So...
Got to get that. You got the online service?
Yes. Well, we did. So we did the family pack. Smart move by Nintendo, man. It's crazy. It's like $20 a year. It's $30 for you and 8 people. Doesn't even have to be your family. It's,
What? Yeah. We could all have Switches in this house and share the same family pack for $30 a year.
Yeah. Or you just get a Switch.
Might be getting a Switch.
Yeah. You can just get a Switch, and we have 5 slots on mine. It's ridiculous.
Jeez.
Yeah. And you get a free game, but I think the only person that can get the free game is the primary. Is that correct?
I don't know. So my brother got like some like 8 codes. He got an email for like 8 individual codes of some Splatoon 2 DLC. He's like, hey, do you want to play Splatoon 2? Here's a code for it. We have 8 of them. Side note, my brother, who is now in college, has slowly taken over my life, and I'm not okay with it. Because he signed up for this Spotify Premium Family Plan, and like I pay like $10 a month or whatever for it, and he pays $15, but he can add multiple users.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, you want to be on it? So now he controls my Spotify. And then, like, the Nintendo thing, I was like, oh, I'll set it up. He's like, oh, I've already done it. You want to be on it? I'm like, hey, man, I'm older than you. Remember this?
Priorities, man.
He's trying to pop in there like, you're older than me, but I'm better than you.
That's true. He's trying to flex a little bit.
Yeah.
I'll put him down. He knows it. Have you thought of your moment yet?
So the big Christmas moment for me, it's actually not even like that. I guess it wasn't that exciting. Like it wasn't a hidden gift or anything like that. Ironically, I bought it for myself, but my parents just helped me chip in for the extra pieces, that kind of thing. So it was 7th grade for me. So I was 12, and I had been saving up I was saving up all my allowance money and that kind of stuff for an entire year to buy myself a computer. Like, I had never had a computer. We had one, you know, at the house, that kind of thing, but it was sort of like the family computer, so I had to be in the other room to use it, that kind of thing.
I feel your pain.
We finally had broadband internet and the, like, 5 megabit or second or whatever, so I could get on AIM, I could browse the internet, I
Porn.
could do whatever.
You got to get up at 3 in the morning to look at porn so no one else
never.
is up.
No porn ever. Definitely not on that particular computer. Don't look at the history on it.
I can't even say no.
It's gone,
It's
thankfully.
gone.
So, like, I had been saving up. I think I had $600 saved up by the end of like that full year that I had been saving up all my allowance and anything. Like, because my mom always asked me, "Oh, well, do you want this? Do you want that?" I'm like, "No, saving my allowance. I want this computer," kind of thing. So I had sort of spec'd out, like once a week or something like that, I had spec'd out a new computer to see what kind of things I could get for $600. And at that time, HP pre-builts were actually pretty good. Not to mention my dad, since he worked for FedEx, could get a discount anyway through them with their employee buy program or whatever it was.
Cool.
So I had this all spec'd out. I handed them a sheet, like, oh, this is what I want, that kind of thing. And I didn't think anything of it at past that point or whatever. But sure enough, on Christmas, like I go to open up, there's this giant box. It's like standing like this tall. And I ripped the paper down the side, and it has the old HP logo, like the circle with the H and the P cut out of it. And I was like, and I like panicked and freaked out, a little bit, because it was like that was like my big gift, sort of thing. And then they proceeded to tell me afterwards, oh yeah, we went ahead and spent your allowance, the money you were saving from your allowance on it. And I was like, all right, I'm still okay with that. I mean, it's I guess it's still my Christmas gift, So, but then my dad also got me like a set of accessories with it. So I didn't really have a good monitor. All we had was CRT monitors. So he got me a 4x3 19-inch Spectre LCD monitor, like the first thin LCD monitor that we could get in the house, kind of thing. Then they bought me like a little speaker set with it. My dad even bought me like an external hard drive that had its own card that we slipped in and plugged in. We added extra RAM to it, a couple things. Like, it was actually a really cool thing. Like, I upgraded it, I built it, and then it was mine. It was like I even spent my own allowance money to get it, but it was cool to sort of upgrade it and make it better over time. Like, we even put a graphics card in it, kind of thing. Like,
that's awesome.
So I could play games and do whatever. But I enjoyed it a lot. It was one of the best gifts I had.
Good thing you liked it.
Well, I mean, you could say that it made Mark who he is today.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
That was the starter, actually. That was where that was the computer I used for MySpace, where I learned how to program with HTML and CSS and modify the HTML and CSS that we had on our pages.
And it died with MySpace.
Well, that's actually exactly why I think I was so good when I was hanging out with you and Sean for a little bit and learning Angular. All the MySpace pages, I was like, I already know HTML. Like, this is cool. I know half of this. I made my own MySpace all the time. It's always changing.
Never had MySpace.
Man, you missed
Really?
out. Let me tell you right now, I'll say it openly. If Facebook died today, I would pray MySpace came back.
It's funny. I remember seeing a little meme out there talking about, I wish I could do music stuff. Da, 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 da. And it's like that. That was MySpace.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
All the time, building your playlist. And I loved the war for the top 8 friends.
Yeah.
all right. Well,
Yeah. Well, so this has been Happy Hour.
yeah.
We enjoyed our time and our wonderful Slane whiskey.
Give me a glass. Give me a glass. Give me a glass. I totally drank whiskey too.
So we'll be back
finished
next
mine.
week, of course.
Yeah.
John will not be here, of course. Brent will continue to be out because they'll be off enjoying themselves in Ireland, getting hammered.
Wasted.
All I can hope for is
Irish style.
some Marco Polo videos of them, hammered. And
Oh, there'll be
pitch
plenty
ideas.
of videos being taken.
It'll be a good time.
Yeah.
Well, I know Kepley and I here will be back next week. We may have a surprise guest with us.
Oh, cool.
And I guess
Something
we'll
to
see
look forward to.
Yeah, I guess we'll see you next week.
Adios, guys.
Yeah. Cheers.